Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. It's Friday. That means it's time for the Rockin Robbie Show. I'm Robbie. This is Rex. What's up, my man?
What's going on, brother? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Batman Day, too. It's the weekend that the Batman releases. I'm hearing really good stuff about it. I'll be watching it today.
Yep.
So.
You're lucky, man. I think you're gonna enjoy yourself. Critics look like they're jumping on board. I've heard some really good things, which I didn't hear at the beginning. Like last week, I was doing some Google searches on it, and it seemed like people felt that it had taken too dark a turn, that type of thing. But now this week, it seems like the critics are jumping on board, and we'll see how the fans feel about it.
Yeah, it seems like fans are liking it so far. A lot of people started watching it last night, so I'm hearing good stuff about it. I am super excited. So, by the way, everybody, join me tonight over at the Cerebros. Verno is having me and Jelani over there to discuss the said Batman movie. So you'll get our full spoilery thoughts on that show, and I will encourage everybody to comment below to enter the contest. And the winner will be announced on Monday's show over at The Experience. Do that show with Rex and John. Great collectibles, statues, signed books, CGC books. It's always a grand old time at The Experience on Mondays. Isn't that right, Rex?
That is. We always seem to have fun. So topics can range anywhere across the board for us. So definitely join us in some great collectibles, graded comics, signed comics, and of course our favorites, cover sketch art that we have from Ken Hazer.
Yes.
So that's always a good time.
Always great work from Ken Hazer. I have two of those pieces myself, Captain Carrot and Rainbow Bright. So I'm very excited.
That's right. I
very
remember.
Excited to have those.
Didn't see that one coming.
Get him to do a gym of the holograms and see how quick I'll jump on that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
too funny. But I also know that you should enjoy yourself at the Batman movie. Have a good time. I know that you must be feeling pretty down because your Lakers are tanking, man.
Oh, man, they're so bad. I loved it because LeBron was like, y'all, you just got swept for the season by the Clippers. And he's like, they're a better team. Like, he is acting like Derek Jeter acted in like that like era where the Yankees kept trying to get there, but they couldn't in those when they had A-Rod and everything. Like, they made it in 2009, but outside of that, there was a moment too where they were like, most Yankees teams can overcome, and history has shown that you guys can do this, right? And he just goes, not this Yankees team. And I'm getting that vibe from LeBron now. They know what's up. Like they're talking, he's denied it, but they're talking about him sitting perhaps for the rest of the season or just kind of checking out because he's getting to be an older guy and he doesn't want to, obviously get hurt or at least rest the body in the hopes. But I think Westbrook is gone. Yeah. I think that marriage was not made in heaven, and it's a foregone conclusion after the season they're gonna get him. And he tried to trip what's his face? I think in the game against the Clippers. Oh yeah,
when they were getting torched. Yeah, he got duped. Yeah, and
I'm not even watching him. I'm not even watching him anymore. And so between the Lakers, just this I've been through some ups and downs in my fandom with the Lakers, right? This is a low point for sure. But then with the MLB not being able to get their stuff together, and they've already canceled the first two series of baseball, the Olympics are over. The Lakers suck. Baseball's delayed. I got nothing, Rex. I got nothing.
Well, you would think that Major League Baseball would be a little smarter about this, but read the room. And it's a perfect time to come back because the pandemic squashed everything. So people are looking to get outside and go enjoy a ball game, maybe a beer, a hot dog or something, some pretzels. But they're not reading the room. I don't know if baseball can recover if they have another blown season. I'm not sure. Last time around in the 90s, you needed a steroid-filled home run chase to bring everybody back.
Yeah, right? And it's crazy for a sport that has such a long memory of its history to have such a short-term way of thinking and looking at this particular thing. Like 94 is not that long ago. We still talk about things from the 1800s in baseball. You know what I'm saying? In 94, like we got to learn the lesson. Like, and the fans don't care about the nuance of the argument. They don't care if it's about certain aspects of pay or certain aspects of percentages or certain aspects of like COVID protocols or drug tests or medical examinations. They don't care about that. They just think a bunch of greedy people not wanting to give me the sport I enjoy.
nobody comes out a winner. I mean, the players are trying to paint themselves as the workers against the owners, that type of thing. But really, all you people make so much money that the average American can't even really conceive of how much money we're talking about. You know, when you're drawing a salary that's pretty much the mortgage on most people's houses in one game, nobody's crying, you know, for you here. You know, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you know, you can thank Kurt Flood for opening that door up, but now it just appears to be a bunch of billionaires arguing with a bunch of millionaires, or in some cases even billionaires as players, and you're losing us. It's not exactly the most. I love baseball, you know, and I love softball and all of that. And I'll take this opportunity to throw out a PSA. College softball has started. A lot of teams in the East are down in Florida right now. It's called the Spring Games. My gosh, I think 500-600, you know, Division I through Division III teams and JUCO, and they're out there starting their season. And you know, I've been down there when my daughter was playing college softball. I encourage everybody to tune into ESPN, watch college softball, support that. They tried to get a professional league off the ground right before the pandemic, but obviously the pandemic squashed everything. They were starting real small, so it's been tough, and then everything just kind of crapped out. But if you watch enough softball, it is the same game, but it's very, very different.
Yeah.
When you have 60 feet between bases, it becomes a much quicker game. And I don't think people realize that. It actually is far more exciting in a lot of instances than baseball. Your shortstop in softball cannot take their time or double clutch. There's none of that because it's 60 feet. Some of these girls, in softball, you have something called slapping. Probably the best analogy to baseball would be Ichiro Suzuki, the way that he used to hit the ball from the left side. He'd be almost running towards first as he made contact with the ball.
Yeah. That
actually comes from softball. That's actually what we call a slapper. And some of these girls are so fast, it's ridiculous. I mean, you literally, my daughter played in one game. Our third baseman was literally on top of her. Could probably tell if she had bad breath. She was so close. This girl was just so fast down the line, we still couldn't get her. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But it is a very exciting game. I encourage everybody, if you need that fix, that's a great place, and they can use your support. It really can. I mean, it's
high level really softball. High level softball is freaking awesome. Like, I would love to see a professional league, because when they get to the College World Series or whatnot, right? Like, I try to watch the college baseball, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's hard. I feel like I'm just out watching like somebody's dad playing baseball out at the local park, you know? And when you think of softball, a lot of people think of that kind of thing, like dads or moms at the park playing softball. That's not what this is. And it's insane.
If anybody watched during the Olympics, and it's a shame that it's not coming back to France, but it's because of what the local audience will absorb. And in Japan, obviously, they have a huge softball professional league, and you know, people come and they're turning over dollars, and everybody's watching. But it is a very exciting game, and people don't realize. They think it's easier to hit a ball that's bigger. It's not. No. In softball, that ball can actually rise because of the angle of delivery, where you can't, and there's an actual pitch called a riser, which will actually move its way up as it's coming towards the plate. Can't do that in baseball because your delivery is out here.
Yeah.
So you can't make something come up because the natural, your natural form is bringing everything down. But so there you go. There's my PSA.
All right, there you go. A little bit of softball talk, encouragement from Rex. All right, let's get into the topic, because today's topic is speculation good for comics? We've been kind of exploring this industry these last few weeks, Rex, and we've been having great conversations, barely getting them started. They get continued out there in the chat. So please leave your comments on what you think about this topic. But basically, comic book speculation. People coming in trying to buy comic books to make money in the short term or the long term, whatever. We've seen speculation come into collecting markets before, including comics, including sports cards, and kind of crash it. But this is, I think, on a different level, but there are some similarities. Now, you were involved in the sports card industry back in those days, so I'm really curious to hear your take about speculation as a whole, and is it good now, today, for the comic book industry?
You know, I think that first, speculation is sort of inevitable in any type of collectible, hobby, whether it be comic books, whether it be trading cards, whether it be something of a different nature, it lends itself to that, because you have to remember, when you talk about trading cards, when you talk about comic books, and you talk about people collecting it, what people kind of forget is that you don't have to do this. You could take, it's not food. You can't go into a grocery store and say, well, I like to buy a grocery store. I have an Action Comics, Golden Age slab and whatever. And that cashier is going to look at you like you're crazy, right? I can't accept that as currency exchange. So I think that speculation just becomes a part of it. It's another part of collecting whatever it is you collect that you enjoy, because now you collect something because you like it. Then you find out it's risen in value due to speculation. That makes you happy. Okay, you may not sell it, you may not be interested in selling it, but it's kind of nice to go on to the internet and say, oh wow, look at this! I actually bought this for cover price. I had it slabbed, and paid $20 to get it slabbed, and now look, it's several $100s. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that becomes part of it. So there's no way to avoid it. Now, I know a lot of people think poorly about speculation and kind of purists who feel like these speculators are ruining it. They're not collecting for the right reasons, and they're not even reading the comics. I guess the way that I see it is, who cares?
Yeah.
Ultimately, who cares? It's become more relevant now because during the pandemic, I think that all collectible things, whether it be sports or comics, began to shoot through the roof. And one of the most reliable forms of speculation these days are obviously golden and silver age slab books, or even golden and silver age books. They're going to hold their value. And I think we kind of discussed this a little bit before. It's the difference between a day trader and Warren Buffett. Okay.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett is a traditional trader who has always said, you hold, you invest in what you know. In this case, the only difference is you invest in what you like. And that's why the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio looks the way it does. That's why he goes to Mickey D's. That's why he goes to Dairy Queen, because those are things he understands. And I've read a lot about him. It's a man I have tremendous respect for. So when he gets into something he doesn't really know, he doesn't really invest in it because he doesn't know it. And he knows he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
So he tries to stay with things that he understands. So if you're speculating, and this I think is bad, if you're speculating more like a day trader and you're trying to, and we talk a lot about this with Alec because, we do his new comic book day. If you're speculating, trying to bank on a new title or a new issue coming out with the hopes of a first appearance or first cover appearance or this or that, you're really gambling. You're like a day trader. Okay. Yeah. It's more gambling than it is investing, because you can't really predict how the general public is going to, or in this case, the general comic reading public is going to react to that. And then the other factor is, if the hype is big enough, well, they can just keep printing them, So the other thing that could be misleading is you read all the stuff about a particular issue. Oh, it's going to be a first appearance of this character, and it's great, and everybody's, is going to be buying this, and it's going to be so popular. And then the publisher gets the pre-orders and they're like, wow, look at this. This is great. Okay, so let's print out all the copies. Well, that also is going to have an effect on value. So it's interesting you bring sports trading cards. So I'll bring probably the rarest card, of which I just read. There's another auction going up for it. The Honus Wagner T206 card. So there are 60 known cards still left around the world. So maybe there's more, maybe there's one or two stuck in grandma's attic, who knows? But right now, there are 60 known. Honus Wagner, although a Hall of Famer, was certainly not as big as a Babe Ruth or a Joe DiMaggio or, that caliber.
Yeah.
But why has his card, that particular card, become so valuable, so desirable? And the reason is really, it's very interesting. It has to do with the scarcity of the card. So the T206 Honus Wagner is a tobacco card. So the way that you would buy cards or collect cards back then was you buy a pouch of tobacco, because people still rolled cigarettes and smoked pipes and stuff. And in that pouch of tobacco was these baseball cards. The T206 cards of that era were much smaller than the modern day trading card.
Yeah.
Well, Honus Wagner, a man before his time, objected to having his card distributed through tobacco because he thought smoking was an evil. So he insisted that they remove his cards. But unfortunately, like anything else, tobacco pouches with his card in it had already gone out to market, so you can't yank that back.
Yeah.
So it ended up being the rarest card because there was a short print because of his objection to being in the tobacco. So who could have predicted that? Nobody.
Yeah.
So there's so many different factors that play into speculating that if you're looking to get into speculating, whether it be comics or trading cards, whatever the case may be, I warn you that you should be cautious. So it goes back to the same thing, the Warren Buffett example. If you're looking at an eye of speculation, you should still stick with what you know, or in this case, what you like. Collect what you like. The rest will kind of take care of itself behind you. The comic that you get because you like it may not have had the hype, may not have had the hoopla, it may not have advertised a first appearance because something happened with marketing, whatever. But there really is a first appearance in there. And then they print it based on the pre-orders, and all of a sudden people discover, oh my gosh, there is a first appearance in here. And that character ends up taking off. So now you have short quantities and everybody's looking for it. Yeah. But you can't predict that. I mean, the publisher can't predict that either. So you have to be very careful. When you say, is it good, is it bad? I don't really see it as bad, because first, the market will dictate what the market does. So if you try to stop it, you're really trying to control something that is dictated by the market. And that never really works out for anybody. But really beyond that, it brings more people into the hobby. Now, they may not read it. They may not be readers, whatever the case may be. A real super rich dude in Wall Street may be chasing after Golden Age, Detective Comics or Action Comics, whatever he's looking for. So he's not cracking that out of the slab. He's not looking to see what the storyline is or, oh gosh, I want to read this. He's buying it purely as an investment vehicle, seeing the history on it and seeing that it is a very stable kind of investment vehicle, and it keeps rising in value.
Yeah.
How is that bad? I mean, it brings more interest. It brings more attention. All of a sudden during the pandemic, you had articles in mainstream media talking about the collectability of comics and how much they're selling for and how they never seem to go down in value.
Yeah.
Bringing more money in the industry is never a bad thing, in my opinion. It's a positive thing. It brings attention, so on and so forth. And you're always going to have that percentage of people that may start out as speculators. Not that super rich guy that bought the Detective Comics, Golden Age Detective Comics, slapped up, but maybe they're trying to test their hand, in speculating in comics, and all of a sudden they start picking one up, and they're like, this is pretty good.
Yeah,
maybe I'll buy something just because I enjoy reading it. So you can only increase your numbers as opposed to decrease your numbers with the speculation. So I don't see how it's really hurting. And look, people use the example, prevents other people from buying it. How many of us, no matter what, even before the pandemic, could afford a slab Detective Comics, first appearance of Batman? I mean, come on.
I think in particular with that example, what they're talking about is like new books off the shelf. For instance, every other Donny Cates comic book, for some reason will spec up, right? Like it's a first appearance of a new character, right? So here's my basic take is this: is it bad? It can be. Is it good? It is. Like it is good to have speculation in the market because that is bringing people in. And I get it. I understand what it's like from a fan's perspective who's been reading these things forever. I feel like, this is my world. This is my thing. And when people come in and they're not even reading it, you feel like they're disrespecting. I can understand where that mindset comes from of the purist, right? I can understand some of the annoyances being a retailer, right? Where we have a lot of speculators that come into our shop. I love pretty much all of those dudes, right? Every once in a while, you get somebody and you get into a discussion of, well, why didn't you order enough of this? Because nobody cared. Like nobody ordered this book. If you don't pre-ordered it, nobody pre-ordered this book. How are we supposed to know anybody had any interest? Because nobody had interest until these people walk in with their key collector app, right? But
Right.
I understand that purism's perspective, and I understand all that because I'm that guy that gets annoyed at people. I'm in a lot of movie collecting groups on social media. There are people that like bag their movies. That like annoys me for some reason. But it's not to me to determine how somebody collects or how somebody enjoys their thing. I have certain habits, I'm sure, that other people find very obnoxious. I open up vintage action figures. That drives people insane, things like that, right? It's not on anybody to determine how anybody else is supposed to collect. Having people being driven in to comic shops to pick up stuff, to spend money at the LCS, whether it's based on them being into the story or whether it's based on them trying to capture a spark or maybe flip a book and make some money or something, that it's still bringing money into the industry, right? The danger to me happens when it's almost like looking back at the 90s, there was a lot of this kind of stuff. Shops were making money, publishers were making money, creators were making money. Like it was a good time. And then it all kind of crashed. What's one of the reasons that happened? When people realized these books weren't worth money, right? When they realized that, oh man, I just spent all this money and there's no return on my investment whatsoever. That starts driving people out. So if it's just if there's a high percentage of speculators only, then that's a danger that can happen once people realize that maybe it's not worth it to do what you're talking about with the day trading. Like coming in every week, you got your apps out, you got eBay out, you're trying to snatch up everything and keeping them out of people's hands that want those books. Well, at my shop, whenever there's a hot book, we'll usually do like there's a limit per person for this first week on this book. Right. That way everybody gets a chance to get it at cover price. And then like we did that like a few weeks ago. There was like a Venom, there was a Hulk. Everybody was, we're like, hey, we're going to limit these to like 2 per cover per person. We're just going to make sure. But next week, if we got any more, have at it. And then some of those people came back the next week and bought 5, 6 copies, because we still had them. Everybody got a shot, right? And that's what we do at our shop, right? Maybe they don't at some shops, and somebody does come in, and if this random book of Thor jumps up, they buy up all the copies. Other people come in, because I've had people come in. This happened last year during some more Thor speculation that was going on around this Black Winter character. I had multiple people, like more than like 5 people come in and be like, drop me off of Hulk. Drop me off of Thor. I'm tired of coming in and missing it and not being able to get the cover I want or this or that or maybe they weren't like or maybe they weren't subscribed to it, but they were like, oh, I'm done reading Thor because I missed those 2 issues and I can't find them except for on eBay for $20 or whatever. I understand all of that kind of stuff, right? But so I guess I'm kind of rambling here, but what I basically want to get at is I think anything bringing people and money into shops is a good thing. I think smart shop owners know how to deal with it and know how to work with speculators and know how to service that market as well as servicing, your reader market. Right. I do think that people reading comics and being into the stories and the characters, I do feel like that has more potential for long-term growth, right? But speculation is cool. But I don't want people to be like thinking that they're going to like get rich on like week to week speculation, like you mentioned earlier. And this is when people ask me for advice on this, I'm like, buy silver, golden, Bronze Age keys. You're not going to go wrong buying a first appearance of Punisher. You're not going to go wrong buying a first appearance of Wolverine. You're not going to go wrong buying a first Doctor Doom, a Daredevil #1, a Golden Age Batman. You're not going to go wrong with that. Those books are going to only increase, at worst hold for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a very good point. You see, I think that period in the 90s that you're talking about, you had an anomaly, all right? And that anomaly was predominantly caused, I'll say it right here, by DC. And the reason it was caused by DC was because of the death of Superman specifically. And what it ended up doing was it brought in a whole lot of sports trading card speculators. And that was what ended up causing the crash. And what do I mean by that? So after Death of Superman and, they broke Batman's back and all of that stuff, there was an explosion, all right? You had Image going to do their thing. You had Valiant. You had all these smaller publishers start to pop up, where the creators found that they had more, so the positive of that period of time is I think it pushed the creators, and we've talked about this, when we were talking about Image, it pushed the creators up to the forefront, not just the characters. So that was a very positive that came out of that. But the negative that came out of that was whenever there's money, there's going to be speculation. Okay. The people come in, they say, hey, what's going on over there in that industry, man? There's a lot of money exchanging hands there. I want a piece of that. So before too long, you had a lot of sports trading card speculators, dealers, whatever, distributors that started to jump into the game. And that's what killed it, because everybody seemed to lack a basic understanding. I don't know why, but from a publisher standpoint, if you're going to order the comics, I'm going to print them and sell them to you, right? I mean, that's what you're in business to do.
Yeah.
So after that period of time, and I have one very specific example, it was Turok #1, and it had a lenticular cover, but it was about the size of a trading card, and you just flash it that way and whatever. Mm-hmm. And this was coming off of the tail end. And what ended up happening was sports trading card dealers really didn't understand the nature of comics and what made them collectible. They thought, well, it's the same thing as sports trading cards. It isn't. Why? Because sports has a randomness that controls supply. And what I mean by that is somebody comes out of the minors, comes out of college, gets on a major league team. Other than the established stars, the trading card manufacturer has to limit how many rookies they're going to put in their set. Okay, that's why sometimes you have update sets that come out later in the season.
Yeah.
So you really don't know until such time that the person actually plays. Well, that is a variable that nobody can control, not the team, not the league, not the fans. So they could end up coming out and being Mike Trout. They could end up coming in and being this guy, Brian Taylor, who signed at that point the highest rookie contract with the New York Yankees. I think it was like at $1.2 million, which was just unheard of at the time. Mm-hmm. I want to say 1993, maybe 1991. Anyway, guy never made it out of the minors. Blew out his arm, Tommy John, and he was done. And he was predicted to be the next best prospect, history-making kind of player. Didn't happen. Nobody foresaw that. Nobody could control that. What the sports trading card guys missed is that in comics, it's all made up, bro. It's all made up. So they were, oh my gosh, look at all this money, and they killed Superman. Tried to explain to these guys, yeah, they killed Superman. He's not a real person. They can bring him back, It happened a lot. And so they all jumped in, and I used Turok #1 as an example because it was frightening to see that. I think Turok #1 at that point had maybe 100,000 readers throughout the country. And the pre-orders at Diamond were well over 1 million copies. So they printed 1 million copies. Then all of a sudden, everybody realized that you have 100,000 readers, but you've just printed over 1 million copies of the book.
Yep.
And it started to sink in. And I'll never forget that before they were even delivered, the price had dropped below cover price and kept dropping like a stone. And the reason for that was because you had way more supply than you had demand. And that's the part I think that people have to be careful of. And I think that period of time for comics was an anomaly. I think today it's on much firmer ground. Again, you can thank the publishers sort of for that. The MCU, obviously the DC universe, has helped solidify that, helped put a foundation there. And the speculation, yeah, you had those speculators, but what are they speculating on? They're not sure. So really, I believe the hobby is still made up predominantly of people that have an interest in the books and maybe do some speculation, okay, which is not a bad thing. Again, it helps. You can't buy every book you want to buy. So after a certain point, you don't have the space, you don't have the money, you have to clear out some space.
Yeah.
With no value, it's just going in the garbage. It's just money gone. But with speculation, it has value. Maybe not the cover price value. Maybe you're selling 10 for $1. I don't know. But you're getting something back to clear space and regain some funds in order to pursue your hobby of getting more books that you want to read.
Exactly. So, using it to fuel you're purchasing using,
Right.
you know, and that's something that's fun. It's a fun thing. And in the modern spec market where it is going to the shop that week, do they have the hot books on the shelves? How many can I get? There's an element of funness to that. I get that, right? And it's great to be like, man, I've been buying Something Is Killing the Children from the beginning. It's a huge book right now. It's soaring in prices, right? So that's cool knowing that I could flip that and like invest in an OG Silver Age Fantastic Four that I need or something like that, right? That's really cool.
Right. You bring up a very good point as well, is that the spec end of it is kind of like a trading card pack. You break the pack, you find out what you get. You don't know, you know, that's part of the excitement, you know, of the fun of collecting as well, is that's part of it. Like, what am I going to get? You know?
Exactly. And it's soaring right now with Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all that stuff is like at a height again. Pokemon in particular, we can't keep it on the shelves sometimes, man. So, and some of those people are starting to get into comics now. Right. Into the speculation movement. And I think you're fine. I think you're right. Like, the industry's on sounder footing now, like, than it was back then. Back then they were overprinting copies. They were like hundreds of thousands. That's not really the case anymore. Comics are a little bit more limited. And there is a little bit of that random factor though, right? Because nobody would have ever predicted that out of all of those copies of New Mutants that got pushed out there in the early 90s, that Deadpool would become such a smash hit, right? And the books dropped down a little bit lately, but just wait till he shows up in Doctor Strange or they announce the next movie. Who could have predicted? Nobody ever liked the Adventures comics that much, right? The ones, those are based on the cartoons, right? That's why the first appearance of Harley Quinn, Batman Adventures 12, is a huge book, and it still happens today. Miles Morales, nobody. Everybody thought the Ultimate Universe was done. There was nothing that was going to survive out of that. Why are you even trying to attempt to make a new character for it? It's just going to be a waste. Look at the popularity of Miles now. And Spider-Gwen even. Gwen Stacy's more popular now than ever because they made her a Spider-Woman in the alternate reality, right?
Well, and what's funny is, and we've talked about this before, is that all of these things have added that thing, that randomness, that element of surprise that did not exist in the 90s. And now that they're churning out TV series, churning out movies on a regular basis, I believe you have a solid foundation now with specking comics that you didn't have before. And there's still the unknown factor. Stray dogs, perfect example. Okay, who thought all dogs go to heaven dogs and in a comic book with a, you know, with a character is going to work?
Yeah,
nobody. Okay, you read it because you enjoyed it, but then all of a sudden it did work. And now there's that randomness introduced into speculation of comics. And it also has its older, as you said, golden and silver age books, which have established value. As you say, you're not going to go wrong with the first appearance of Wolverine. You're not going to go wrong with the first appearance of Punisher, of Superman, of Batman, so on, Spider-Man, and so on and so forth. Those have established themselves. That can't change.
Yeah.
And the beauty part is it's better. It's even better than sports. How many people had Roger Clemens rookie cards that regret it now?
Yeah, right.
All right. So what's great is this is a made up character. So he can't do anything messed up and ruin his reputation. Like Superman isn't going to get caught at a bar, you know, doing something he shouldn't be doing, right? With somebody that's not Lois Lane. So that there's a safety in that. So in my opinion, I think that there's a reason it's grown like this, and I think it's found solid footing now. And I people will disagree. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't. It really isn't, because it only helps to grow the hobby. It helps grow the industry as a whole. LCSs, okay, we know they're dropping like flies all across the country. So if you took speculation out of it, completely out of it, and you just have the purists, how many more LCSs are going to drop off the map?
Yeah, and be a retailer that understands this market and how to work with it and how to use it to grow your business. You know what I'm saying? Like, when customers are coming in and they're wanting product, find a way to get it to them. They'll buy it and they'll come back and buy more.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Whether you're a speculator or a reader, I think we've covered a lot of great ground on this, but barely touched the subject again. So drop a comment out there, everybody. And you're also entered to win the contest. We'll announce that winner on Monday's show. We're about to announce the winner of the people from the chat on Monday's show. So it's like this never ending, like it's just this
never ending cycle.
Yeah, it's just great stuff.
All right, so Robbie will throw up a better picture of this, but this is one of Dynamite's new metal covers. All right, this one is Vampirella number 25 with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle homage. And this is not a foil cover. This is actual metal aluminum. It's stiff. When we send these out, actually, we put a little disclaimer on it, just like a coffee cup. Coffee is hot. Contents are hot. Edges are sharp. Yeah. Believe me, I had to get the guys to teach me the trick in the back how to slip it into a board and bag, because the edges are sharp enough. You don't do it a certain way. You catch the edge of the bag and it just rips the bag. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I went through a few bags trying to get it in here before I went back for help. Like, how do you do this, guys?
So that's going to be the prize for the winner that I'm about to announce. But just to kind of wrap up this whole speculator thing, we have this. A lot of people have this idea that there are speculators and there are readers, and I think honestly we're all a little bit of both. And I think that that's the good thing. Like, don't be such a purist and think that you're not sometimes buying a book just because you know. Like, if you see a $4 book on a shelf and you know you can sell it for $50, do it. Like, do it. Like, buy it, flip it on eBay, and then go back to that shop, buy more comics. That's a Bueller idea. That's how we do this, right? So, and if you're a speculator, read one of these every once in a while. You might be surprised, And also, if you don't care, if you just speculate or collect based on art or covers or certain characters you like, go for it. Like, nobody has the right to tell you how to collect and what to do with your collection. So let's all just enjoy this hobby together, because we're all the same, right? I mean, there you go.
I think that you brought up a very, very good point. And that is the two arenas are actually areas of gray. I don't believe that you have a purist and then you have a spec. Well, maybe you do, but I think the vast majority of people that are involved in the comic book hobby is somewhere on that scale of gray. They may lean more towards specking than they do towards reading. They may lean more towards reading than specking, but it all is one big, massive merge. And again, it's a very positive thing, I think, for retailers. That's the other key. So if the purists say, well, we don't want any speculators in there, well, you may have to travel a little bit farther to get to an LCS then after that.
You need to
is that a positive?
Get look at yourself. Look in the mirror.
You got that right.
All right. So the winner of the metal Vampirella cover is Larsman.
Larsman. There you go.
It's a familiar name in the chats on Monday. And do join us on Monday night over at The Experience. There's a link in the description below. We have a great old time talking about who knows what. Spam, horror movies, Westerns. What we got off topic. We didn't even barely covered horror movies last week. We were like on something. I don't even remember what it was. We were talking about the new reader stuff still, I think, and like other stuff. It was a really great conversation, though. I'll tell you that. So join us on Monday.
Yeah, we got to get back to that. So I know Stevie B was very upset. He was all prepared for the horror conversation, and then we didn't get to it.
This dude took notes, probably, like wrote down, he's ready to get into it, and then we're like, oh yeah,
I'm all ready to go here. When are we gonna talk about it? I'm like, oops.
Yeah, and every once in a while we sell some comics and collectibles there too. Really great stuff.
Yeah, we try to keep that in there.
Rex, thank you for this illuminating conversation. It's been fun. I can't wait to have a chat with you again on Monday night, bro.
Man, I'll tell you, you're picking some good topics here the last few weeks. So interested to see what you got lined up for us next Friday.
Yeah, very excited. All right, Rex, thank you. Thank you out there. Don't forget, drop a comment, enter that contest. We're dipping out. Station.
Take care.